locked in a dispute over value-added tax. Before now, the FIRS has collected the tax, distributed it to the three tiers of government. But now River State has challenged that process. Now, here's today's big hard fact. The Constitution does not list VAT, in the exclusive list. The fact is, at the heart of River State's argument, this is it. That's what is at the heart of that argument. Simply put, if VAT isn't on the exclusive list, the argument is that it's up to the states to collect it. That's the legal argument. But there's also arguments about the practicality and the sustainability and the fairness of both options. Who will be better off if VAT collection devolves to the states or if it remains under the control of the FIRS? And what I'm hoping that we're going to do from now until 6 is try to figure this out, try to answer that question, but also go into a bit of the technicalities around VAT collection and VAT distribution. My first guest is in the studio with me. He's a fiscal policy partner and Africa tax leader at PwC. Taiwo Yedele, welcome back to Nigeria Info and to Hard Facts specifically, because this is the first time we've had you on this show.
Yes, Sandra. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good to have you here.
Thank
My
you.
second guest is joining via Zoom. She's an international business lawyer and tax specialist. Kelechi Ugbeva, welcome back to Hard Facts.
Thank you. Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much.
All right, Lagos, you are my third guest, of course. Do you support River State's move to decentralize VAT collection and distribution? We also would like to have questions from you for both our guests. I'll start with Kelechi. Kelechi, the Federal High Court said that the Constitution gives the River State government the exclusive right to collect VAT in the state. But the appeal court has ordered all parties to maintain status quo pending its judgment. What does this order mean in practical terms for VAT collection in Rivers and in other states?
Okay, so I would go straight to responding to your question. And I'll say that the order ordinarily should be limited to the parties to the appeal. So, you have mentioned River State and other states.
Are you speaking with an earpiece? I think the sound isn't good from the earpiece.
I'm speaking from my phone. Is it better now?
Yes, it's much better.
Okay. So I was saying that the order should be limited to the parties to the appeal.
Okay.
And as we all know, the parties are the River State government and the FIRS. And generally, other states they're not parties to that appeal.
Okay.
Even though we understand that from reports that Lagos State government has applied to be joined to the appeal, and Lagos State government has also claimed that they would be affected by the outcome of the appeal.
Right.
But so far, we do not know. We know that that matter hasn't been heard yet, and Lagos State hasn't officially been joined. So it will be speculative to extend the order to other states.
Okay.
If you see what I mean. So
Right.
in practical terms, the River State government have been asked to maintain the status quo. And I would say we should consider the subject matter of what the appeal is about, or what the matter before the courts, which would be VAT collection. And the status quo would be FIRS collecting these taxes. That's my own opinion.
Okay.
And also, I would also add my opinion that to avoid confusion as well, that it would be practical for the FIRS and the River State government to maintain the status quo, and for the River State government not to take the laws into their own hands, until there is a final pronouncement on the matter. In fairness to these taxpayers as well, I would urge the courts. We've seen in the past where there's election petitions and other matters that seem urgent, that the courts have fast-tracked the processes and, the whole I'll say, shenanigans. So if it's possible for the courts to fast track this process and ensure that the courts they speed up the process, is fast tracked, the decision is made as soon as possible. We know that VAT is remitted on the 21st day of the next month. VAT is collected on a preceding basis, but the next hearing is on the 16th of September. It's not so practical to have gone to the Court of Appeal and then to the Supreme Court before the 21st of this month, but it's something for the courts to consider.
So to be clear, as far as you're concerned, the status quo would be for FIRS to continue to collect VAT.
Yes, that's what my interpretation.
That's your interpretation of that.
Yes, even though there are arguments that I'm sure we would. There are arguments that the Rivers State government had already enacted that law before the judgment, and therefore the status quo is the Rivers State law that they're statutorily allowed to enact. But my interpretation would be the FIRS would continue to collect VAT pending the final judgment of the court.
Okay. Let me come to Taiwo for a bit. The FIRS wants a constitutional amendment to amend VAT, right? Amendment that adds VAT, right, to the exclusive list. Does this request imply that, in the view of the FIRS, federal government doesn't have full legal jurisdiction for collection of VAT?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So if you go back a little bit of history. So in 1963, we decided that we wanted to be a federation.
Okay.
If you look at the 1963 Constitution, you will not find VAT, you will not find consumption tax.
Okay.
1979, we had another constitution, no VAT, no consumption tax. In 1999, really, I think it was a decree. They just call it our constitution because it was made by the military. They just copied 1979 with some amendments. So you said in your introduction that VAT is not in the exclusive list, but I think it's even better to say it's not in the constitution.
Okay.
So VAT is not in the 1999 constitution.
Okay.
But remember that the VAT decree was a decree of 1993. So which means we had implemented VAT for 6 years before we wrote the 1999 constitution.
Okay.
So we're already collecting it. So whatever we're doing at the time, everybody knew that was what we're doing. But then they wrote the constitution and unfortunately they didn't state it there.
Okay.
So FRS's point is, if this is not clear to everybody, can we just make it clear? I don't think it's an admission that they think that it wasn't the FRS to collect the tax.
Okay. Okay.
So because, lawyers never agree on anything. So even what status quo means, they haven't agreed.
Yeah.
There are lawyers who have argued, and it made a lot of sense to me when I read one of it. And they said, actually, the judgment wasn't that Rivers State could legislate and collect VAT. That was just saying that FRS has no powers to collect. And there are provisions of the constitution that people have interpreted to mean that if the state should legislate, they can only do that for taxes or anything to be collected by the local government. So if you read the constitution, I'm not a lawyer, but if you read the constitution, you would see that it says for anything under the exclusive legislative list, it can only be done by the National Assembly to the exclusion of anyone else. When it comes to what the state assemblies can legislate, it did not put that same language there. So that is why on the concurrent list, you will find things that the National Assembly can legislate, and you find those that the state can legislate. In the interest of good order, all over the world, maybe apart from Brazil, I don't know of any country where subnational implements VAT. If you want subnational to implement consumption tax, clearly don't call it VAT, call it something else. You can call it sales tax, like they have in the US. So, because what happens with VAT is that it's complicated. Imagine that you sit down in Ibadan and you order something from an online store without mentioning any names. and the store is in Lagos, but the warehouse is in Oshogbo. So who's going to collect the VAT? Or if I transfer money to my friend in Abuja, so I'm transferring from Lagos, my friend is in Abuja, so the commission of the bank, who is going to collect the VAT on it? Should it be Lagos State? Should it be FCT? All over the world, the OECD had prescribed what they call the destination principle, so that you don't pay VAT twice. But the state don't even understand it. In fact, if you look at the laws that they've passed in Lagos and Rivers State, it will tell you that we're going back in time. So if they wanted to copy the law they want to enact, why did they not just copy the current version of the VAT at the national level? They went and copied the 1993 version. So a lot of things that we have in the current national VAT, like exemption for small businesses, are not there in their laws. Certain things you have, like how do you treat international digital transaction, it's not there in their laws. Something like exemption for items like, food item that is, so for example, what it means today in practical terms, because many people are sharing them on, they don't know what it means for them. It means that your barber, your tailor, your hairdresser, your makeup artist, your plumber, all of them must register now and be complying with VAT. And failure to keep records is up to 250,000 naira fine. Failure to register in the first month, I think it's about 50,000. Every other month is 100,000. Some of these people cannot even keep records to save their lives. So the reason why countries have a threshold is because VAT is complicated and you don't need to burden small businesses with it. But these states are now going back in time and they want everybody to comply with VAT.
So the issue there isn't that the states cannot collect VAT properly. The issue is that the current laws they've passed don't do it properly. Doesn't that mean that if the states rework those laws, they should be able to collect?
I think first and foremost, we need to wait for a final determination. If we were arguing or we have a controversy about who owns a car, and you get to the Federal High Court and you win, I'll give you the car. When I go to Court of Appeal and I win, you return the car to me. And then when you go to the Supreme Court, so we can't do that with a tax law. You can't enact the law and then we start paying to you and then we say stop paying again, pay to another person. We had waited 28 years. We could have just waited a few months.
Okay.
So on one hand, I do think that even if the laws at the state level are properly enacted, we'll still have a problem with implementing VAT at the sub-national level. By the way, last year, 2020, FRS collected 1.53 trillion naira as VAT. And about 51% of that was import VAT and international services. So which means the VAT collected within the states, all the states in Nigeria combined, was less than 50% of the VAT collected. So the other thing we need to try and clarify is that the ownership of VAT is not in dispute. So even though it's collected by the FRS, it belongs to the state, and that's why they are collecting 85% of the amount collected. So if you ask every state to start collecting it now, and you find out in the Lagos and Rivers State laws, they already said they're going to collect VAT on import. Import is an exclusive legislative item. You can't have all 36 states at the border trying to confirm where your goods are going to collect import VAT. That would be chaos. In India, at some point, when they were doing the sales version of VAT, some of them were mounting borders between states to clear goods, and people were waiting for 3 days. You don't want to go into that.
But they eventually figured it out.
They figured it out by fixing the way they were collecting it, not insisting that state must continue to collect. So at the end of the day, you have to make sure that whatever you do is in the overall interest of the economy and of the people. In this fight, if this position is sustained, the biggest beneficiary will be the federal government. Many people have not thought about that, because federal government will continue to collect VAT on import. They might call it a different name. They will continue to collect VAT on international services. So all these Netflix, adverts on YouTube, no state can collect it because you can't be dealing with another country as a state. So if federal government collects that and keep, they will get about 4 times what they're getting now. If they collect it and share it using federation account sharing formula, they'll be collecting twice what they're collecting now. No matter how you dice it, federal government will benefit. FCT will be the next biggest beneficiary. Last year, the FCT collected 202 billion and only shared 35 billion. So which means FCT has an additional 166 billion they can keep to themselves and not share with other states.
Let me come back to Kelechi. Kelechi, collection of a tax and redistribution of the tax revenue are two separate issues. What laws govern the formulas for redistributing VAT and stamp duty revenue between the between all three tiers of government and among state governments?
Okay, so the Value Added Tax Act in Section 40 provides for the redistribution of VAT to the states, and this is not really in dispute. Like we know that what made the issue, it's one of the issues that I would say would need to be considered in going forward, as opposed to moving the VAT collection to the states. It could be a central VAT collection and then the sharing formula be revisited. But as it is currently, the pool of VAT is to be shared 15% to the federal government, 50% to the states, and 35% to the local governments. There's a sub-sharing formula where 20% of the pool is shared based on derivation. So the states that have collected a higher amount of VAT would participate in that 20% pool, so to speak.
I see. Again, were you done there?
Yes,
you were. Okay. Now, under the current redistribution arrangement, 50% is equally distributed among all states, 30% is distributed to states based on population, and then after FIRS takes its 5% fee, the rest, how many percent? 4% fee.
4%.
Yes, and then the rest more or less goes to the state that generated the VAT. Does this arrangement create a moral hazard where states with higher populations know that the harder other states work to increase VAT receipts, the more money they will get? And if so, is there a better redistribution formula? Because I remember that you just spoke about perhaps they need to revisit the redistribution formula.
Okay, so it's very interesting that you asked this question. If you look at the arguments of some of the states, you will see that they're arguing that the bulk of VAT is generated from their states. So, for instance, states like Lagos, the FCT, and River State, arguably, can collectively claim that the bulk of VAT is derived from their states. And then, it would go without saying that these states would expect that if there is some kind of reconsideration of the sharing formula, that they would get the bulk of whatever the revenue is. But it's important for us to note, that there's a bigger picture, and also that revenue sharing has been the dominant method used to deal with the financial needs of states in Nigeria.
Right.
The majority of other states would suffer. There would be some kind of decline in their revenues if VAT is collected by the states on their own. But I would say again that we need to continuously consider the bigger picture, which would be that VAT collection and redistribution of VAT as an income is a very important financial backing for the states, if you see what I mean.
Okay.
But I don't think I answered your question. You had said the second half of your question was on whether. Sorry, can you say the second half of your question again?
Does it create a moral hazard where the states with higher populations know that the harder other states work to increase VAT receipts, the more money they will get? Is there a better redistribution formula that they can adopt?
Yeah. So I would say that a as opposed to better, maybe I would use the word. I'll use the word more fair, like something that would be fair or appear to be fair. Because if you note from most of the arguments and conversations and speeches out there, the ones pertaining to alcohol and some other things, you would see that the states that believe that they have a higher VAT collection rate are arguing that it's not fair. If I'm saying it in simple terms, I don't think and I don't believe that the right thing to do would be to deprive the other states of that revenue. Yeah, but I am of the opinion that the redistribution formula, the sharing formula, should be reconsidered.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got a break coming in 2 minutes, but I want you to take a shot at that question as well.
Yes, so I think I will just say to you that 32 states are guaranteed to lose, no matter how you play this out eventually. Rivers and Lagos State may or may not lose, but they won't gain as much as they think they will. There's what I call the headquarters effect.
I was going to come to that.
Yes. So you have all the multinationals, all the big companies, the banks, the Dangotes, the MTNs, they're all headquartered in Lagos. So when they're remitting their VAT, they just file it in Lagos. And then Lagos says we're generating 55%. You're not generating 55%. 55% is only being remitted in your state. When everybody starts enacting their laws, then MTN will have to break down their revenue based on where the callers are based. And then they will remit to 36 states plus FCT. So the basis for their claim is faulty because they're not using data appropriately. The second point is on this distribution. I do agree with Kelechi. We need to find a method that does not reward laziness.
Okay.
But at the same time, we need to remind ourselves that Section 162 of the Constitution under subsection 2 prescribe that whatever you find in the Federation account, actually subsection 1, it says that the President, on the advice of the Revenue Mobilization Committee, will describe how to allocate the revenue, but must take into account principles such as population, right, such as equality, and landmass. So the problem is actually the Constitution itself. So the states cannot choose and pick the aspects of the Constitution that they like. What we need to do is to escalate this issue to a discussion about the Constitution that we want going forward, not going back. By creating chaos and enacting your separate laws, you create confusion, and that is not good for the business environment. It's not good for the state government. It's not good for federal. It's not good for the people.
Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll keep talking to Taiwo Yedele, who is fiscal policy partner and Africa tax leader at PwC. We also have Kelechi Ugbeva, who is an international business lawyer and tax specialist, joining us via Zoom today. Lagos, we're streaming live on Facebook, Nigeria Info 99.3. We're also streaming live on YouTube, Nigeria Info FM. This is the big hard fact on Hard Facts. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. Don't go away.
Hey guys, I have some really great information from Visa Card. Now wait, are you the type of person that loves AWOF? I am talking about, are you the type of person that you constantly scout at your favorite stores to look for when they're giving a discount? You're scouting the internet, spending data and everything, looking for a discount, looking for AWOF. Or are you the type of person that loves to fill your shopping cart? Well, Visa Card has you covered. Now, Visa Card is giving you an exclusive access to an amazing offer and discounts from various stores and restaurants. I'm talking about from David Wedge to Sweet Kiwi to Smile Internet to Adidas to Swatch to even cosmetics. I'm talking about Zaron Cosmetics and many more of your favorite restaurants and shopping places. Now, chill. If you do not have a Visa card, tell me, the card that you have in your wallet, the card that you have in your bag, can it beat this awoof? As a matter of fact, I can definitely tell you that it cannot beat this awoof. I'm telling you that. This definitely beats any offer you can receive on any card. Hands down. I am telling you, paying with cash will not get you an awoof and any of these delicious goodies. Even Black Friday has got nothing on this one. I promise you. So if you've got a Visa card and can't wait to see all these goodies for yourself, visit visacard.africa or download the Visa Card Benefits and Offers app from the App Store on your iPhone or your Google Play Store, on your Android or your Apple device. Sign up and explore all the deals and pick a store and follow the instructions or download the vendor code to enjoy this beautiful benefit. Pick a store and follow the instructions or download the voucher code to enjoy the benefits when you pay online or in store with your Visa card. And if you haven't, you need to hurry now and get a Visa card. You don't want to have to live without this. You do not want to have to live without a better life with Visa. I promise you, you would definitely be missing out. So head on to your bank right away and get yours so you can start enjoying the VIP life like the rest of us. Visit at Visa_NG on Facebook and on Instagram for more details and information.
More news and information coming up. We'll be back in a moment.
Some people have that special phone number. Sometimes it's the first number you ever had. Or that number that rhymes with your birthday. Or the number that your first girlfriend, Titi, gifted you. Now, imagine having that number taken away from you and giving to someone else, all because your line was inactive.
Oh, no.
Oh my, such painful stuff. But guess what? With Glow Always On, that won't happen because for just 500 Naira, you stay connected to the Glow network even if your SIM is inactive. Now you can really rest easy and never worry about any of that because Glow Always On will keep your phone number for you. Just dial *777# and select Always On to subscribe.
It's the Big Ten. Your number one talk station, 99.3 Nigeria Info, is turning 10, and we want to thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, you. Your calls, messages, and even your strong points and arguments. You make our shows fun, so yes, thank you for being here and for making 99.3 Nigeria Info the number one talk station in the country. Watch out for the coming weeks as we have exciting things lined up to appreciate you. Things like giveaways, 10 big conversations with big names. Hey, some of your favorite OAPs will be at a location near you. Stay tuned to find out. From all of us at Nigeria Info, thank you for 10 amazing years.
If you're a Visa card holder, you're a VIP, aka Visa Important Person. It means you have exclusive access to amazing discounts and offers from a wide selection of Visa partners like Adidas Stores, David Wedge, Rough and Tumble, and others when you sign up to VisaCards.Africa or download the Visa Benefits and Offers app.
Truly, life is better when you pay with Visa. Available to all Visa card holders. Ask your bank for a Visa card today. Visa, everywhere you want to be.
Them say your ginger, now pepper them style. Show them say you sabi your legwork moves. Give them as it is hot with extra spice. Oh shit! Yes, with the confirmed taste of bold ginger. Show them your ginger.
Bold ginger, now the confirmed soft drink. We get spicy taste that keeps you refreshed. Bold soft drink also there for orange, tropical, and bitter lemon flavor for all your jolliment. Bold ginger, show your ginger.
8 times 500 naira, 4,000 naira. 8 times 5,000. Hi!
I beg. Where on they see this money?
Money care. Now the ogbonge bonus where they summer me as I buy new SIM card. See, then they give me double data subscription plus 8 times a woof anytime I recharge.
Oh boy, what's up for me now?
You know say you fit buy SIM card now for any accredited Airtel shop, ba? Just go there with your NIN, just like that.
Sure guy.
Airtel, the smartphone network. You are listening to your number one station for talk.
Your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. This is Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. I've got two experts on the show with me today. The first one is a fiscal policy partner and Africa tax lead at PwC, Taiwo Yedele. We also have an international business lawyer and tax specialist joining us via Zoom, Kelechi Ubeva. And today we're asking who will win the VAT battle. That's the conversation we're having on the show. Off air, Taiwo and I were talking about this some more, and I was asking him about, if the points he made just before we headed off to that break did not still bring us back to the place where VAT should go into federation accounts, or if the states themselves should collect it. Because put yourself in Governor Sanwo-Olu's position. So he wants to collect VAT. He wants Lagos to collect VAT directly. But you say, no, let FIRS collect it. And then when he says FIRS should give him his full receipts, you quote section 162 that because the money went through federation account, it must be shared. And he's saying, look, I didn't want it to go into the federation account to begin with. Let me collect it by myself.
Yeah. Actually, no, it's not going to the federation account. It's going to what they call the VAT pool account. So it's a special account. And some people have an issue with that because it's not mentioned anywhere in the constitution. So, if you had gone to the federation account, state would be getting less than 50% because the sharing formula for the federation account is about 52 point something to the federal. So this was actually a recognition that VAT is a state tax. That was why they had to create a special account so that states can collect 85%. The 15% was meant to just recognize the fact that even federal is doing some work around.
But that's the thing. As long as it's going to FG, it ends up being shared. And someone who doesn't want that.
Yeah. So, but there's no way you can develop a consumption tax system and nothing will go to the federal. So who is going to collect on the international one? Who is going to collect at the border? Right? Unless you're saying federal government should just collect and hand it, off to the state 100%, which is similar to what we have under stamp duty. So the law says, the constitution actually, so federal will collect when a company is involved, and then it will share everything to the state, less cost of collection. So we can do the same thing for VAT. I really don't care too much. But here is the conversation around Lagos State. Lagos State last year shared about 216 billion from the VAT pool. Lagos State and the local governments. That is by far the highest. I think the second highest is even less than 50 billion. So if I'm Governor Sanwo-Olu today, I'll say, please give me the data. Let me interrogate it. If I enact my own VAT law and I start collecting it, can I make 216 billion? I'm telling you that based on the fact that I have, Lagos State will not make 216 billion for two reasons. One is the headquarters effect, which means once everybody enacts their VAT law, no company can file all their national returns in one location anymore. They'll have to break it down and file separately. So a lot of the returns that are being filed and paid to FRS in Lagos for VAT will now go to the 36 states plus the FCT. Number two reason is collection efficiency. FRS has been here collecting for 28 years. VAT, by the way, is one of the most complicated taxes in the world. The states have been collecting personal income tax before I was born. Since independence, personal income tax is the number one revenue yielding tax in the world. In the US, personal income tax accounts for up to 41% of all revenue of government. In South Africa, it's 38%. In the OECD, it's about 35%. So which means the most important tax in the world and in Nigeria today is 100% within the purview of the state to collect and keep and spend. Fast forward to 2021, Where are they? They are struggling to collect it. The entire amount that Nigeria collects from personal income tax as of last year was about 844 billion naira. South Africa has less than 1/3 of our population. Their unemployment rate is comparable to us at the same range. They exempt their poorest people 2 million naira or less equivalent per annum. You don't pay personal income tax. Guess what? They collected 12 trillion naira from personal income tax. 12 trillion naira. Property tax is also one of the highest revenue yielding head in the world. It is 100% within the purview of the state and local government. What have they done with it? They've messed it up. So I do not see any evidence in front of me and going back in time that gives me the confidence that once you give them VAT, suddenly their capacity to collect will just go over the roof.
So that's the argument you're making. You're making the argument for capacity, not, whether they should be collecting it to begin with. Because here's the thing, right? What if someone who doesn't care? What if he's ready to take less as long as it is what is actually generated in Lagos, right? Because if you remember what happened in the First Republic, that was what was going on. So you had the states collecting the local taxes and they were paying federal government their share. So why can't this collection be bottom top? Why must it be the sharing? Sorry, why can't it be bottom top? Why must it be top bottom?
Yes, it depends on what you're looking at. If you're looking at resource taxes, so for example, if we decide today that Niger Delta State should own the oil assets, bring it out or give it to whoever can bring it out, and then pay federal government, I will vote for that 100%. I have no issues with it, because practically that can be done. So what you are referring to in the First Republic were things like resources like, cocoa pyramid and groundnut something and all of that. Those things, there's no complication. Own it, collect it, pay federal whatever you want to give them. You cannot do VAT like that because the people will suffer, businesses will suffer, and government will collect less. I now don't see the point, to be honest. So if people will suffer, businesses will struggle, compliance costs will go up, ease of doing business will go down, ease of paying taxes will go down, right? And then government will still collect less. What point are we trying to prove? The beneficiary, in my view, in that case, will be the politicians. You know what they're trying to do?
What?
Setting up structures to collect these taxes so they can take commission from it. So most times you have to look in, even far, far beneath what is being said on the surface. So there are people who will benefit no matter how you allow state to collect. They will benefit.
Let me come to Kelechi for a bit. Kelechi, should the argument really be don't support this thing unless because you will end up collecting less? Shouldn't it be let every state collect what it generates so that each state hustles to improve local business? Because it's like an adult still living at home with his parents because his allowances are bigger than when he's living alone and the salary is coming in, right? And he has to now hustle. Because different countries have different styles, right, of VAT. When it comes to VAT, different countries have different styles. We have state-driven VAT collection in some, like Brazil that Taiwo mentioned. And when Taiwo says government will collect less, isn't that simply because the current states are inefficient? I know that's a lot of questions, but just bite from any side where you feed bite from.
Okay. So I would say that we need to remember that VAT is a consumption tax.
Yes.
And generally, consumption in the context of states would be what individual consumers have purchased or what has been sold to them, and when you say for each state to hustle and see how they can generate some kind of, already the pendulum does not tilt in favor of
the consumer
of majority of the states. The pendulum does not tilt in their favor when it comes to being it, and already
should you be a state then?
They should be. Maybe the government would need to look into developing their states further, like outside of VAT now. Developing to ensure that there's some kind of commerce or some kind of trade or something that would generate vatable goods and services. One thing that I would say as to why, apart from the big picture, which I had mentioned earlier, to say, there are just a few states that have these vatable goods and services in reasonable numbers. There's also the international import. There's also imported services, for instance, which arguably the higher percentage would be deemed to be generated from Lagos State, or would we say the FIRS would continue to collect the VAT on international transactions? I still maintain what I had said earlier, that a balanced perspective would be to reconsider the distribution mechanism, and then ensure that is reconsidered and then is distributed according to as the amount that you've generated, or something like that.
Throughout the Fourth Republic, the FIRS has been redistributing VAT and other taxes to these states, right? I want to stay on that point you made earlier on about the viability of these states. They've also been redistributing all revenue. If they've been unable to use this to develop their local economies, when will it happen?
I think this is why there are arguments out there to say, maybe there should be zones. We have to. I am of the opinion that we have too many states. We have too many states. Would it be possible to collapse these states into a few states as opposed to 36 that we have already? I don't know. But yeah.
So can I let me share my thoughts on this. If the states were to be creative, they should have been creative since like 20 years ago. Nigeria is poor. Federal government is poor. All the states are poor, including Lagos State. If the money we collect today from all taxes collected by FRS, all 36 states, FCT, if you give it to Lagos State will still be poor because it's under $50 billion. New York's budget is more than $200 billion. So the fact that you then take VAT away from FRS and give to states to collect, and therefore about 32 states will struggle, it's not the reason why their governors will suddenly become creative. They have been poor. Even as we speak now, they're still very poor. But there's enough for politicians to take care of themselves. So this thing about they will become creative is not going to happen. That I can tell you 100% for free. So until Nigerians start asking, I think the second part of your question is the game changer for Nigeria. Until we start asking questions about what they do with the money they collect, no matter how little. I have a friend who says that local government is sharing committee, right? Because I can't remember any project that local government ever did in my locality. I don't know anybody who knows anything they're doing. And these guys share over a trillion naira every year. State government, not really better. Maybe slightly better. So we just see the numbers of the money they're making. We don't see the project they're doing. Even when they do project, it's padded and inflated. So that question about the social contracts, even if it's 1 million naira alone you generated, can you just be honest with me how you spent the money?
Now, I want to come to your headquarters effect because you continue to talk about that quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
Now, you have other federations that collect VAT. Canada, Brazil, and they didn't have the headquarters effect because companies file VAT in multiple states. Why did Nigeria opt for a centralized system instead?
No, let me also I like your example actually. So Canada, for example, they call it goods and services tax. So they have the federal one, and then every province has the right to also introduce their own GST. Some of them have, some have not. Some of the provinces that have introduced GST have decided, some of them, that they want to consolidate with Federal. They say, Father, you know what, just collect on our behalf. The way we talk about federal and Abuja and sharing of revenue here, I think sometimes it's very downgrading.
Why did we opt for a centralized system?
Because as of 1986, states were collecting sales tax. And when VAT was going to be introduced, the study group was very clear. You cannot collect VAT at the subnational for the following. They gave reasons. So it was then agreed that in the interest of efficiency, let's collect it centrally, but then still share it back to the states and let the federal government keep a small percentage.
But others are collecting at subnational.
So those that are collecting at subnational also collect at federal. Brazil collect at federal and subnational. Canada collect at federal and subnational. So I'm saying you can't just say that others are collecting at subnational. Of course, I don't think Nigerians want both federal and states. So therefore, we have to decide between the two. In Canada, I'm sure that they have data. There'll be no headquarters effect because everybody there knows that I have to submit my returns in the province where I operate. That was not a conversation in Nigeria.
Why can't it be a conversation now?
Because it's a conversation that's taking us back. When I was a junior consultant, some close to 20 years ago, I remember then that many of our clients would say to us, then we used to do branch filing of VAT. So you file where your branch was based. And there were so many companies where their procurement functions were based on a particular location for common sense. If you are close to the source of material, you base it there, right? Then you make sure that your production is close to where the market is. So they were having input VAT in some branches. Input VAT is what you should claim back from government. And they had output VAT in another branch. And they couldn't offset. So companies were borrowing money from banks to pay VAT when they had VAT to collect from government. So a lot went into saying, you know what, FRS, this is just not sustainable. Can you please centralize VAT remittances? And they did over a decade ago. If we now say states should start collecting VAT, we're actually going back to over 20 years ago. That is reversing progress.
Maybe 20 years ago, subnational collection was hard for us. But in all areas of life, we revisit decisions that were based on lack of capacity to see if we now have capacity. Why can't we do that with tax? How are these countries that we talked about earlier on, Canada, Brazil, how are they going about collecting at subnational without all of these inefficiencies that we've mentioned earlier?
Yeah, that's simple. You just ask the subnational to collect only what happens within their state. And then the federal, so GST at the federal, and also for Brazil, is collected by the federal government.
Why can't we do that here?
So if you do that here, right, two things will happen. One, even though you don't want me to say that, state will collect less. Facts.
What
are saying they don't mind, right?
Kelechi wants to say something. Let me come to Kelechi.
All right,
Kelechi wants to say something.
I was going to say,
yes,
I was going to say that we have to be careful, with the last question that you've just asked now, we have to be careful to avoid losses. I can imagine that the states in Nigeria, they do not have the adequate systems in place as we speak. And it would take a while. It's not something that they can do within a few weeks or a few months, Initially, it will be expensive for the states to administer this VAT. Initially, it will be expensive. So even if it's for the sake of argument, if it's something to consider, then it should be done in a gradual, process, if possible.
What if those who don't have those capacities invite the FIRS to work on their behalf?
So how is that different from FIRS collecting it and giving it to them?
Kelechi?
That's the same thing. That's what I would say as well. I would say, why would the FIRS want to do that?
Let's say calls. Lagos has been calling me for a while. I feel like they're going to beat me today.
Sandra is the devil's advocate.
0700-993-993-993 01465-7190. I feel like we need to have this conversation again. One episode is not enough. Like there's no time. 99.3. Hello. Thank you for calling us.
Yeah. Hello, Sandra.
You have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Val.
You have 1 minute, Val.
I want to suggest, one, is it not possible that we do a sharing formula if VAT is 0.75, a state where it's generated from collect 4, local government 2, federal government 1.5, or better still, bring back the sales VAT the sales tax alongside the VAT, then reduce the rate that is to be charged, then let sales go back to federal government, VAT stays with the states, or VAT stays with the state, sales goes to the federal government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And he said all of that in 38 seconds. 99.3, hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's your name?
My name is Lawal.
Lawal, you've got 1 minute.
Okay, I'm calling from Lagos, precisely. Good evening to your guest, Mr. Taiwo.
Just go ahead, Lawal. Just go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to contribute to...
yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I think Lagos State government did not have the capacity to manage the VAT, in the sense that they already have a consumption tax. Even the consumption tax, they cannot manage it.
Okay.
Why are you fighting for the VAT? Even payee, there are some of the employers that are registered for payee, they cannot even access their ID, payer's ID.
Okay.
So they don't have the capacity to do that.
Okay.
And I concur with what he said, that the politicians are just vying for a way to get more money.
All
and
right.
that's just the reality of it.
All right. Thank you so much for calling. 99.3. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for calling. What's your name?
My name is Chidi.
Chidi, welcome. You've got 1 minute.
Yeah, please. What of your guests mentioned that Nigeria does not have money?
Yes.
I mean, how can he say such a thing? We all know that this country, we have money. But it's just, it is in the hands of very few people.
We actually don't have money.
Is so poor.
I wish.
I mean, we have money.
No, we actually
you
don't.
and I, we are not seeing it.
No, we don't have money. Don't worry. But it's long talk. But don't worry.
It's a long story.
We don't. 99.3. Hello. Sorry about that. Call back if you can. 99.3.
Wow.
Hello.
Sandra.
Thanks for calling us.
Yeah. Simple thing. We should not be afraid of change.
Okay.
Are you getting me?
Okay.
Yeah. My colleague there, Taiwo Loyede, I mean, accountants, they can do it. So let the state try it first. And the issue of status quo is so clear. I mean, these lawyers should not be confusing people. I don't know. Lawyers should agree. Status quo means maintain your position before. So let the state
So which
try
position?
Yes, exactly.
The position, when they say status quo, right, it is the Federal Inland Revenue Service that went to court. And the court is saying, look, let everybody meet. It means that Federal Revenue Service should continue pending the final determination of the case.
Oh, that's what Kelechi said now.
That is it. That is just the thing. Okay. So as far as the state, let everybody try what they can do.
All right.
Let them wake up and see what they can do.
Thank you for calling. I wish we had more time, but we don't. I have to go. Kelechi, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you can come back. Taiwo, thank you so much for joining us. We hope we can drag you back. It's a rolling conversation. More stuff will happen, and when it does, we will definitely talk about it. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili online. Good night, Lagos.
Thank you, Sandra.
Here's announcing the public presentation of the book, Kumuyi, Defender of the Faith.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.